It's finally time to put the onions in the ground, and I'm going to show you my 3 top tips to get the biggest onions that you can get. So 5 weeks ago we did a video on how to plant the actual seed, and now it's time to put it in the soil. Our nightly temps now are staying 45 or above typically. I mean, we're getting some dips, but the extended forecast looks pretty good, and we have now blown past our expected last frost date, so let's hope they know what they're talking about. Now, in all reality, onions can handle the cold, especially once they're established. I'm going to show you my tips and tricks that I've learned over 25, 30, well, I think the first onion I planted was 30 years ago. I'm going to show you the tips and tricks that I learned so you can get giant onion harvest too. First thing we got to do, we got to get rid of all this mulch. We're going to pull all the mulch back so we can actually work with the soil, and then we're going to wet it down really good. I like to start with a really wet soil. Now, we're not getting rid of this mulch. We're just moving it over for the time being, because once everything gets established in here, we'll be putting it back. Good time to take a look. So I just pulled it. Now, you don't have to be super careful when you're pulling off your mulch if you've been following it and doing it the way I do it, letting your soil marinate. But look at this. Nice, fluffy, rich soil. One of the biggest keys to raised bed gardening that I've ever found is mulch. Once you start deep mulching everything, it changes the game. You'll up your gardening level. You won't even be able to recognize the difference of what your vegetables look like once you start deep mulching versus if you weren't before. Another key to growing giant onions is you need a really good, well-draining, fluffy soil. Onions do not like to sit in water. You want to make sure that the soil you're using drains that water off really fast, but then just stays moist for the roots. You don't want the roots to rot. Okay, we pull them out of the little 4-inch seed cell, and here's what we've got. Look at the roots on these. Super white, unbelievably healthy. Then I jumped ahead and I gave them a haircut right about 6 inches. It doesn't have to be perfect by any means. It's just a guideline. So give them a haircut, chop them off, prune the tops of them. You'll be happy you did. Huge, huge tip. I'm going to bring you in close here because I want you to see. I know that's a lot of roots, and a lot of you right now, if you haven't done this before, are pretty nervous about this. Just start gently squeezing. Take a look. It'll come apart, even if you don't use this next bit of advice that I haven't seen anybody else on the internet talk about. If you just keep squeezing, see how that one fell? You can just very gently work that onion out of there. And then usually, once it gets to about right there, it'll let go. And you can pull her out of there. Something that I learned a long time ago, let me bring you down low. If you're having a hard time getting them apart, get yourself a little bucket of water. And all you got to do, now I don't use cold water because I don't want to shock them. Just room temperature. And then swirl it around in there and then squeeze it while it's in the water and watch what happens. Your dirt pulls away, which is helping to bind all those roots together. And then just shake it back and forth. See how that one just fell? And then just once you get that bottom part of the soil to fall off, push it down further in the water, and then just hold on to the onions like this and just shake back and forth, back and forth. Look. Once you do that, bring them out and just kind of use your fingers and untangle the roots, and they will all let go of each other. And come apart just like that. Now once you get them started, they loosen up even more, and every one you grab you can just pull out of there one at a time, and it won't hurt them. So out of that one little 4-inch by 4-inch I got 22, maybe 23 Walla Walla onions. And now they're all apart, laying on the soil. One thing that I'm gonna give you a tip on right now, and it depends. Figure out how much space you have, and then you can kind of figure out, once we show you the spacing here, how many you can put in there. But I recommend start with your biggest onions and the best roots and get going with those. That way, if you run out of room, you've got all your best onions in there. Now, I'm going to plant mine no matter what. I don't care if I have to put them somewhere else. And I don't care what size they are. They're all going in the ground. But if you start with the biggest ones, then you'll end up with your best onions at the end. The other little bit of advice that I'll give you, let me get up close. The white part down here by my finger, you don't want to bury deeper than the white. Only bury to the white and get the roots down in the ground, and you'll be good to go. Now this year I'm going to change things up a little bit. You saw earlier, and even in my last videos, how big my Spanish sweet onions got last year. Honestly, because it's just the wife and I at the house now, they were a bit too big to use for individual meals. The onion was way too big for a two-person meal. So I'm going to plant these a little closer together and go for more onions this year than I am actual physical size. Walla Walla onions are very sweet onions anyway. I love Walla Walla onions. And you don't need them giant. I'm going to go for just a normal size onion. And to get that, we're going to go more toward the bottom side of the measurement than what I'm about to show you. So when you're spacing your onions apart, you want to be 3 to 6 inches apart. And I'll show you why here in just a minute. But 3 to 6 inches apart. I think we're going to go for high intensity this year. We're going to do 3 or 4 inches, and then you can follow along all year and we'll see where we end up. Now do not get hung up on this spacing. Again, like everything else I show you, take it with a grain of salt. You can adjust, you can be a little bit closer, a little bit further away. It won't make a difference. But I want to show you this bed from inside to inside is 4 foot. So on a 4 foot bed, we want to make sure that we're at least 3 inches off the wall. That's exactly what I'm going to do on this one, is 3 inches. 3 inches is going to put me right here. I'm going to go kind of high intensity this year. Now from your 3 inch, grab yourself a little straight edge. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. We'll just use this guy from last year. And we're going to put it in there right about 3 inch. We're going to go just a little bit more than 3 inch. And it's all aesthetics. It's because once these things start getting big, or you're going to have the leafy growth way up here anyway. Now there's all kinds of things that you can use, or things that I've found that we can use. But something almost everybody has laying around the house and works great for me every year is a good old Sharpie. So all you've got to do is start from the beginning and, like, let's say go 3 inches, and then just go straight down. Put yourself a nice little tunnel down there. And then we're going to go 6 inches. Then you can also gauge by the word Sharpie on the marker. So I'm going right down to the IE at the end of Sharpie. Okay, then we're going to make sure we grab our bigger ones, the ones with the big roots. Now what I like to do is just lay it across the hole there. Now you can, if you want to go about right there, you could use your finger and push down in there. Or you can use the Sharpie to go back in the hole. If you need to, these are a little bit bigger than what I was thinking. Just go down in there and widen the hole a little bit. So when you lay the roots across there, pinch them together and push all those roots down in there with your finger. And only go about as far as the white. And there you have it. In a 4 foot, which actually we've got our 4x4s right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We could go 13, so we have 12 going this way. So we have 30 inches across. I could actually get 10 rows of 12 in here. I'm not going to go that close. I think we'll go ahead and go with our 4 inch spacing on this one. Main thing you want to do is give it enough room to grow as big as you can get it, or as big as you want it. The more spacing you provide it, the bigger it can get, obviously. So I think I'm going to up mine because of how many I have. I just counted those. I think I'm going to up mine to the 4-inch spacing. I think I went 6-inch last year when they got it as big as they did. One of those tips that I was telling you about: nitrogen, nitrogen, nitrogen. So many people I talk to think phosphorus. Phosphorus is known for bulbing plants and making bulbs bigger. Yes, onions is a bulbing plant, but we are growing the leaves, the leafy green. We want that as big as we can get. Nitrogen. Give it as much nitrogen as you can and you will thank me later. Now, if you watched my last video, you'll see that I put a bunch of blood meal in here, and I did still put bone meal in here. You still want everything in it, but you want to go heavy on the nitrogen. Trust me, nitrogen. You want good onions, nitrogen. Okay, I'm always telling you you can change up on the fly. I changed up on the fly. I was only going down, I was not going deep enough for as big as these roots were on these onions. So I ended up going as deep as this Sharpie, wiggling it around so then I could just use my finger as a way to guide it in there. If you follow these steps, you're gonna have the start to a good harvest. So let's recap real quick. Nitrogen, nitrogen, nitrogen. Deep mulch method. Only bury as deep as the white on the onion, and spacing 4 or more. It's actually 3 to 6 inches, but let's say 4 to 6 or 4 or more, depending on what you want to do, inches apart. Get those roots down deep, and don't forget to give them a haircut. Pull them all up right at 5 to 6 inches, cut it right off. When you do that, it's not going to get so tall that it falls over. Once your foliage on top falls over and breaks the neck of the onion, it's done. You might as well pull it. So you don't want it to have too much weight. So you can actually, even though I know you can go shorter than when I go 5 to 6 inches, 5 to 6 inches works for me. So I just stick with that one. If you haven't watched my previous onion videos, I'll link them here at the end. But as always, happy growing. Let me know how yours is going. And my saying, you don't have to be a prepper to be prepared. If you don't get it in the ground, you're never going to get the harvest. Now's the time. It's not too late. Start planting. Plant like your life depended on it, because it just might.